What's up everyone? In this issue of Project No Secrets, parts start to roll in and another backstory rolls out. Now, a lot of our viewers out there have been asking us to give them more content on our gold R33 GT-R, but to be honest with you, our YouTube channel is still, well, a hobby. It's a side project that complements our main business, which is Jet Multimedia, a video production company and events management company. With all the lockdowns going on, we've been allocating a day a week to work on the gold car, and to be honest, that's pretty much all we can afford until our YouTube channel grows big enough that it can sustain itself as a full-time business on its own. So we are trying to get as much done as we can, but to be honest with you, we've just got too many project cars to do at the one time. The car right now is off at AGI getting its roll cage done, but in the meantime, we've been organising more and more parts. Some of them are on the way, and some of them are already here. But before we start showing you what parts are here and what's ordered, we've got another little backstory for our Project No Secrets GT-R. Now, Option Video have been re-releasing a lot of their old content, and one of our viewers sent in a video of some of the 0 to 300 trials from the late 90s. And it was quite an interesting discovery. Quite clearly, there was a purple R33 GT-R wearing a top secret body kit, built by Top Secret, tuned by Top Secret, has the Top Secret stickers on it, and Smokey Nagata was there with the car, helping run it at the event, and guess what bonnet it had? It had a TBK Auto Garage bonnet as well. So when he said to us at Tokyo Auto Cell and it wasn't his aero, well, who knows what the real story is, because clearly he was using those bonnets on his cars at that sort of era in the tuning scene. So that's a pretty interesting story that popped up. What does it mean? I don't know. We'll let you guys decide, but hey, I just thought it was pretty interesting. Now, while our R33 has been away at AGI, we've been working hard trying to find parts that we need for the car, order them, get them in, and talking to various sponsors that we already work with that have been loyal with us for the last 10 years, plus some new ones to try and get what we need to build the car. We've been talking with Ross to get their dry sump system, balancer, trigger kit, and a few other bits and pieces they're going to be releasing. We've been obviously Turbo Smart, going to be supplying the external wastegate, the blow-off valve, and the fuel pressure regulator. We've spoken to HICAS about putting in their Nexus R5. So all of those things are happening. And also Bosch Motorsport's going to be supplying the injectors, the fuel pumps, the electronic throttle body, and all of the sensors for the car as well, which is going to be pretty cool. We've also been talking to JDM Garage. They've got us in a rear differential for the car. We've ordered a front Quaife LSD via Croydon Race Developments. So a lot of parts on order, but some have arrived. So let's check those out. Now, because I want our R33 to be able to do laps of the circuit, I ordered one of these Greddy enlarged diff hats, which basically just adds extra oil capacity for the rear differential. We got one of these on the way for the front diff as well, along with an actual rear differential, thanks to the guys from JDM Garage. It'll be here soon. Obviously, we needed drive shafts, and for GTRs, these are getting more and more expensive. We already had a couple laying around as spares, but we managed to buy a few more. We're going to send all of those away to get completely refurbished and checked over to make sure they're all good. So the next piece of the puzzle is some Top Secret style rear spats for the back of the car, which I wanted to use, so they're here. They'll obviously get fitted up and need to be painted as well. Now, with our R33 being used for circuit, we have to take suspension pretty seriously. In fact, pretty much every factory component is going to be ditched and replaced with some type of aftermarket adjustable item. Why? Well, we want quick lap time, so we've got to do it properly. Now, we've been friends with the guys from GK Tech now for probably 15 years. They're an Australian company that designs their own suspension parts. They've got great tutorials on how to install them and how to use them on their website, which is pretty cool. And Greg heard we were building this R33 GT-R. He remembered the car from back in the day and said, what do you need? And I said, well, everything in your catalogue, send it over. So it's all arrived, and we're going to take a quick look now at exactly what we're going to be using and why. And then in a later episode, we're going to show it all getting installed and completely refurbishing suspension and subframes front to back. So first up is front upper control arms. Now, these are required so that basically you can change the camber setting in the front of a GT-R. We want to be able to dial a fair bit of negative camber in for circuit racing, so these are important. The other thing they allow you to do by having complete adjustments on both sides here is actually increase the overall track of the car when you combine them with aftermarket lower control arms. Obviously, they're rose jointed. Why is that important? Well, you don't get any flex in the are factory sort of rubber bushing, so therefore you keep a consistent alignment. They do come with these rubber covers, so basically you can put that over the top and stop dust and debris and crap getting inside your rose joint and affecting how long they last. So if you're using it for track only, you probably don't need it, but if you are driving on the street, these dust covers need to go on. So these are pretty cool item, reinforced, gusseted, pretty strong, which they need to be, and quite different to factory. So they're different from R32 to R33, obviously, so we had to make sure we got the right ones. Next, aftermarket caster rod. Pretty much the same as what you see on all models of Skyline and Silvia. Adjustable for length here, rose jointed for once again to have better compliance. It's actually pretty important to have rose jointed caster rods because it's one of the parts on the suspension that has a lot of load on it all the time. And if you've got worn bushes or factory rubber bushes, they compress and they can change the caster. These actually have a bend in them. That's so that you can get more steering lock on the car. Probably not so much relevant for us, but obviously good for two-wheel drive cars used for drifting. The elongated hole here is pretty cool as well, just to help you get the thing in a lot easier. And obviously you can move it over. You can obviously see here that the way they've got these spaces actually moves it over further as well for even more steering lock. So pretty cool design for drifters, but does the same job for what we need on the R33 GT-R. Obviously comes with the dust cover as well, so if you're going to use it in a road car, you can put that on. All right, next up is tie rod ends. Why do we need aftermarket tie rod ends? Well, for bump steer adjustment. So when you lower the car, your steering arm starts to come up, and as you go over bumps, the arc of that steering arm follows. It pulls onto the actual upright of the car, and you actually change your toe or your steering angle as you go over bumps. You want to try and get that back to level, that steering arm. So what you do is you get an aftermarket tie rod end that has these spaces in here, and these spaces push it away from where it sits into the upright and basically goes from being on an angle like this, bring it back down to level to help reduce bump steer. The washers that come with it allow you to do multiple different combinations to get it correct. And the other cool thing that it does is it actually comes with different lengths adapter here to join it up to the tie rod. Why do they do that? Well, if you've got increased track and you start to undo this, you won't have very much thread inside. So by having a longer one, it means you can have more track, or if you need to try and get your alignment correct, you need more adjustment, you can still have plenty of thread inside to keep your strength. So these tie rod ends are obviously matched up with a GK Tech tie rod. Basically the reason why I wanted this was it's longer, it's stronger, it's thicker, we have more adjustment, and most importantly, it's new. So we get to freshen up the steering in the car as well. So as you can see, they go together. That is massively long, but all the different types of adjuster that come with it just allow you to get the adjustment you need to get it right. That's pretty cool. We're actually going to be using these in our Silvia as well. So the next thing is something we've been using on our R32 GT-R for a long time, and that is a GK Tech roll center adjuster. Basically, this adapter fits in between where the lower control arm joins to the upright, and effectively what it's doing is creating a taller upright, so the lower control arm will now go back more towards the factory. So if you lower the car and the lower control arm is up like this, it basically sharpens the camber curve and affects the roll center. You put this in between, brings it back down and tries to get that lower control arm level like factory. 25 millimeters thick, so that's a fair bit of roll center adjustment and a pretty cool, easy thing to put in your GT-R. And lastly, GK Tech extended wheel studs. Why have I got those? Well, if we want to run a certain size wheel, or if we need a space or anything like that, we want to make adjustments, we've got that. And to match those, we obviously need some open-ended GK Tech wheel nuts. And that is the front. All right, let's look at the rear suspension now. We've got a few things here. We've gone for a solid subframe bush that stops the subframe from moving around. They are pretty painful to install no matter what brand you get, so I'm just going to forget about those for a little while until we get back to that job. Another thing we've got here is solid diff bushes as well. Essentially, you're replacing the rubber bushes that hold the diff to the subframe with some type of material, whether it's aluminium, steel. Different companies make them out of different things, but these are nice little billet items. So that means our subframe and diff will be completely solid mounted to the car, so no flexing around. So the next item is something that I think is pretty cool that GK Tech's done, and that is a subframe reinforcement kit. Essentially what they've done is something that a few of us were already doing sort of 10, 15 years ago, and they've created all these brackets that you weld to your subframe to strengthen the subframe. That's actually pretty important in Nissans that are used for motorsport, especially drifting, because subframes actually tear and can bend, especially where the arms actually join to the subframe. So all of these metal pieces in here essentially are used. They've got instructions on where to put them, etc. So you pull your subframe out, weld these to your subframe, strengthens the subframe, which is what we'll be doing as well. We're also going to be modifying our subframe slightly before you paint it and ready to go back in the car. So we'll explain more of this when we're actually doing it. Okay, now on to the suspension arms that we're going to be using in the car. First up, we have some rear lower control arms. These things are pretty hectic. As you can see there, that replaces the entire lower control arm from factory. You have rose joints here that also have adjustability, so you can basically increase the track of the car and push the wheel out. This is handy if you want to get more negative camber, but you're happy with where the top of the wheel is as well. Also where it joins to the upright is a spherical bearing too, reinforced in the middle, and you've got a few different spots here and options for where your sway bar links up based on how low and where you've got the car sitting, which is good because sometimes a sway bar can get close to the exhaust or close to other suspension components and the shock absorber, depending on the ride height. So these do come in pretty handy. Killer. Once again, they come with all these rubber boots to put around all the rose joints, so if you are driving the car on the street, it's a good idea. All right, next up, traction rods. Pretty straightforward. These things have been around forever. They replace the factory traction rod. They have a rose jointed spherical bearing in it, and they also have adjustments so you can change the length. Traction rods are a bit of a black art in getting them to work. We like to muck around with them a fair bit to increase traction. We've got some tricks we've done with our Silvia that we're going to then pass over to our GT-R to do the same thing. And obviously camber arms, because you need to adjust camber. Now the GK Tech ones actually are a little bit offset if you look at them this way. And that's because they already know that you're going to lower the car. So they want to try and change essentially the shape of it slightly to help it sit better inside the suspension and not foul on anything. So, and it just basically gives you more clearance as well as you lower the car. Once again, adjustable and a rose joint spherical bearing in the end there that's nice and strong, and once again comes with dust boots. So we can adjust our camber now, we can adjust our traction, but the last thing we have to look at is how we get rid of the HICAS and adjust the toe. So the argument about removing HICAS in a GT-R seems to never end for some bizarre reason, and fair enough, if your car makes say 300, 400 horsepower, it might be okay. Personally, I hate it, I ditch it, I don't like it, the way it makes the car handle or feel. Now you have to remember, if you're upgrading all of your suspension to aftermarket adjustable arms and you're changing your shocks and springs, etc., you just can't expect a factory four-wheel steer system to be able to still work well with what you've done. So to me, that's the main reason why you ditch HICAS, is the fact that you've just got aftermarket everything else. There's a couple of different ways you can ditch the HICAS across the Nissan range. One of them is a lockout bar. So essentially you keep the factory tie rods and the tie rod ends where they join into the upright, and you just put a new bar in that obviously doesn't allow them to move anymore, and then you just basically align them like you would your front tie rod ends. Our R33 GT-R has that style. Now we could have done that with the 33, but I'm worried it's going to hit and not allow our Greddy diff extended sump cover, whatever you want to call it. It won't actually let that fit. So the other option, and get rid of all the factory style tie rods and ends, etc., so you can have proper spherical bearing tie rod ends in the back like you would on a non-HICAS equipped Nissan, is you basically go for this style of HICAS removal, which is you put new brackets onto the actual subframe. You have a normal tie rod end like you would on a non-HICAS equipped Nissan, and you have to put a new bush into the upright. And since we're removing the entire subframe and suspension out of the car, it's not really a whole much extra for us to do. So that's the HICAS Eliminator kit that we're going to be putting in the back. Gets rid of the HICAS and everything factory associated with it all together, and gives us a normal rear tie rod to use in the car for full suspension adjustment. So that's all the parts that we've got here. Once we have the car back from AGI, we're going to be removing the front and rear suspension completely. We're going to be doing all of those modifications, showing you how they all go in, how they all work, make everything brand new before we get it back in the car and keep development going. See you next time.